Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, my name is David and I make DIY and home decor content every single week on my channel. So in today's video, as promised, I'm going to be telling you guys 3 scary stories. This is mainly for this upcoming Halloween season. I just figured it would be really fun to share my spooky experiences in life. Alright, without further ado, let's get started. So I did write down some notes for this in case I get lost in thought and start going on a tangent. I can come back to the story because you guys know I love to talk a lot. Anyways, I'm doing it right now. Okay, so the first story. So this is really weird. Alright, the story begins a couple years ago when I worked at Cosmoprof. And if you guys don't know what Cosmoprof is, it is a licensed beauty supply store in America. So basically they just sell hair supplies, like hair color, shampoo, stuff like that to licensed hairdressers. I used to be a hairdresser, so anyways, I worked there for about 3 years. So one day I walked into, like regular schmegular work day, right? And I went up to the register to clock in. That's just how we clocked in. And I went to the back room to go put my things away, like put my lunch in the refrigerator and put my jacket down there in the back room. As I was doing that, I noticed in the corner of the room, there was a lady that was sitting there, this blonde lady, just sitting in the corner of the room in a chair. And I didn't really know who she was. I've never seen her in my life. And my manager walks out of the other back room. So this is like a different room that's basically where we're at. To give you guys a little context, here's the storefront, the front of the store. Then there's like a larger room that connects the back room where the back stock is. So that larger room, they would use it as a classroom for store meetings, things like that. Anyways, so we were in that particular room, the middle room, and I'm going to give you a little bit of a backstory as to why this lady was there in the corner. So this blonde lady, she's sitting in the corner of the room, right? I'm like nervous to tell this story. She's sitting in the corner of the room. And I looked over at my manager who was coming out of the back room. My manager looked at me and she said, "Say hi to so-so." Okay, I'm not going to say her name or anything like that for confidential reasons. And she said, "This is a medium. She's my medium." And I'm like, "What? Why do you have a medium here?" Like, I was confused. She said, "Well, we're going to figure out, we want her to speak with the store ghost." She brought her there to speak with the store ghost. And I know that sounds a little silly, but we actually had a ghost there at the store. And I honestly didn't really believe in that kind of stuff, like ghosts and spirits and whatnot, until all of this happened. We'll get to that point. So yeah, she was there to, I guess, talk to the store's spirit. We're kind of gonna get down into this rabbit hole. Bear with me. Just a little bit of backstory on that. There was a spirit that was haunting the store, and she would go around, and there was these little like tabs that you would flip up to read the price tag underneath. And these little tabs had like the brands. It would say Cosmoprof and then like Matrix, or it would say like TG and Bedhead. It was just like a mini little promotion for the brand that was right in front of the product so that the customers could easily find the product. And you would flip up the tab, and that's where the price tag would be of that item. So anyways, if you kind of took your fingers and like flipped like this to the tab, it would flip up and back down and make this like noise, you know what I mean? Like a light clap. And every now and then in the store we would like hear this happening, and nobody was like touching the shelves or anything. So it was super weird because we would always hear this noise that sounded just like that. Also, other times we would literally see caps of hairsprays. Like the caps would just like fly off the shelf and go to the ground. Or like, I don't know, it was just like unexplainable stuff like that. It was just weird. She was there to figure out why the spirit was still lingering around in the store. Basically, she was back there communicating with the spirit through an app on her phone that was like making these weird static noises or something. I don't know. I personally was like, whatever. So I actually got called to the front. A customer was out there wanting some help. So I had to go out there and help the customer. 15 minutes later, like, as this was happening, about 15 minutes later, I was out there helping the customer. My other coworker walked in, and she went to the back, and little did she know that a medium was back there. She was fascinated and started talking to her to see what she's uncovered. And from what I had gathered, the medium was speaking with this, it was a woman, ghost or spirit, entity, whatever, that was like in the store, okay? And this just gave me the creeps when I went back there. My coworker was like, David, she wants to speak to you. And I was like, okay, hold on, I'm helping someone out here. So after I got done helping the customer and they left, I went to the back room, into that middle room, and walked through the door, and I don't want to say names. My coworker, she said, she wants to speak to you. And I didn't know who. I was like, what? You know, I thought she was meaning like the spirit. She wants to speak to you. And it was the medium lady in the corner. She was like, no. I want to back up a little bit and tell you a little bit about. So the medium, she actually found out that the spirit that was kind of haunting the store was a woman and her son, and she literally said that kind of flapping noise that you always hear is a little boy bouncing his ball on the ground. And I got chills when she said that, because I was like, what? And after she said that, the lady also, her and her son, they lived in a home there back in like the 1800s or something. They lived in a house right there where the store was built on. Her husband worked at a railroad that wasn't too far away or something. I don't know. But he was actually like cheating on his wife with another woman, and he wanted to be with that woman, and they had a child together. So he actually came home one day and killed his wife and his son that he had with that wife with an axe. This is like, I know, like, she was telling the story about how, you know, her and her son died, and I was like, so that's why they were haunting the store. And the woman was very aggressive towards any men of any kind. You know, she did not like men. Yeah, I guess she just like allowed me to come into the store even though I worked there. And I did experience some weird stuff, especially when I bought this house, particularly 4 years ago when I got this mobile home that I'm living in now. It was like a lot of weird things were happening. I feel like a lot more abnormal things. I won't get into those things. We'll just skip that. I'll save that for another day. But back on track, like I said, I needed to like stick to my notes. So anyways, that's the whole story of like why this lady and her son were haunting the store. So let's backtrack. I walked into the back. A coworker, she's like, she wants to talk to you. Well, I don't want to talk to a spirit. And the lady in the corner, the medium, she said, no. She just like said, no, she's gone. And I'm like, what? And she said to walk closer, and I did, and she said, can you come up here on the stage and sit in this chair? And I was like, I don't want to. And my other coworker was like, David, it'll be okay, just do it, you know? So I'm like, whatever. So I went over there and I sat in the chair, and I'm looking at this lady in the corner, and she's like, okay, I'm getting a different reading, I'm getting different energy. And her phone, like the app started like twitching or whatever, like it was making weird noises. And then all of a sudden she said, okay, the woman's gone. This is a man. A man's here. And I was like, I'm getting chills right now just talking about this story. I'm literally getting chills, you guys. Like, I don't know if you can see that. I'm trying to like just calm down when I'm telling the story because I literally get so anxious about what happened that day. So she sat me down, and I wrote these words down somewhere, but I don't know. I think they're in my phone notes. So I'm sitting there and the medium is talking to me and kind of explaining to me what he's trying to say to me. He's trying to contact me through her. He's trying to like tell me some stuff, I guess. But she said that he said master, and he said master was one of the words, but like it wasn't just you could hear him say master. It was like this weird static kind of sound, and I could vaguely hear the word master, but it still was really creepy. It said master, and then he said something else about, I just get so freaked out. And then he said school, and he said report, I think was another word. But he had said like 8 different words. I don't remember them all, but I was just kind of like, okay, what does this mean? Oh, and biography was one of them. She said, I think that this male spirit wants you to write a biography about him because he was kind of mislabeled or misread with his death. He was wrongfully accused, and that I need to do some research on him to figure out how to help him pass over. And she said, did you by chance ever go past like a school or something like that in the past couple years? And I was like, well, yeah, my friend used to live on the south side, and she lived right by a school, so like I would literally drive past a school like all the time because I hung out with her. This was Stephanie, and I was like really confused because I'm like, is she talking about that, you know? But she said you must have picked up this spirit walking or going past a school. He had then like latched onto you, and she said she told me that this spirit was latched onto me, but not like controlling me or anything. He just was like hung on to me and would literally follow me everywhere I go. But whenever I walked into Cosmoprof, he would actually leave my side because he was not welcome there because of that the woman spirit that was kind of haunting those grounds, you know what I mean? Okay, I was going, what? To me, all of this sounded super crazy, right? I was like, this lady's nuts. Like, I don't believe her, and I'm definitely not going to participate in researching and writing an autobiography about somebody. Like, I don't know. I was, like, blown away by just what she was telling me. It was freaking me out, obviously, and I had goosebumps sitting there. I got up so fast and left that room. My manager was spooked out, and she actually did hire a priest to come later that day to bless the store. So a priest did come. However, this was like after, that part happened after I had to close the store that night. Oh my goodness. I just remember this. We were sitting in, me and one of my other coworkers, a different one, we were sitting in the back, we were doing back stock, and a cart literally just started moving. And I was like, what the heck? Like, we use these carts to fill them up with like hair color and then take it out to the front and then put like the hair color away. It was just like our method of using like a cart. Anyways, so it was an empty cart, and it just started like moving, and I'm like, there's probably like a hill or something, like it's not level right there, but I have no idea. I just remember that the cart, it started moving like this. That's what was weird about it. It wasn't like rolling forwards or straight. It literally like moved like this and then kind of moved a little bit. We both were freaked out. But anyways, so she actually left, and I had to close the store down all by myself. I was freaked out. And later that night, I was actually going to go meet Stephanie at the mall. We were going to hang out together, you know, and I really wanted to tell her about this stuff because I was like, thinking in my mind, I forgot her and me actually did play with a Ouija board, and that was like a year before all of this happened. Like I said, this was 2 years ago. We did mess around with a Ouija board, and we did this on Facebook Live. We were just messing around, like nothing like crazy or serious. We weren't like taking the game serious, which a lot of people were like, that's probably why like you opened up some kind of portal or something and like
released demons.
I don't really know, to be honest. I don't know. I was freaked out, and I literally just remembered that Ouija board was in the trunk of my car because I was eventually going to donate it or get rid of it, and I never did because I looked up online, like you can't do that, I guess. You have to like properly close the portal or something. I don't know. You guys, I don't know this stuff, okay? We were just messing around with it. I don't know if it was that or if it was the whole I walked past a school and picked up a spirit. I don't know. I'm just ranting. At this point, I have to close down the store, and I was there with my coworker. She was kind of helping close. Usually we would like close together. There'd be like 2 people just because of the money issue, and like the one person would leave, and then there'd be one person left to count the last drawer, lock the door situation. I was the last person, obviously, and we were sitting there up at the register just together. It was probably like 5 minutes till we closed. I kid you not, a brush. It was like one of those thick, big hair brushes. It just flew off the shelf and went onto the ground. It was like a loud thud, and me and her looked at each other like, hello? Is someone in here? So we went over there. We looked at the ground, and there's a brush in the middle of the aisle, and I'm just like, I am not touching that. I'm not picking it up. I don't know if it's like what that lady, that medium, like what, does she unleash something in here? I don't know. Like I just was like, I'm not touching it. I don't know. So we literally left it there for whoever in the morning the next day. Like I did not touch it. We did not touch that brush. So I wanted to get out of there and go tell Stephanie like about what this lady said about the guy situation and then the brush. It just like freaked me out. Close the store, and I get in the car and I get ready to go to the mall. Start my car and I get down to the first light, and I'm getting ready to turn left, and the mall's literally right down the road. It's like stoplight, turn left, stoplight, turn right, and there's the mall, right? Well, at that first stoplight, my car started to like shake. I don't know, thinking about it now, like I'm like, there's got to be some explanation, like some car issues or something that I was having, but I really don't know because this was a long time ago. But my car, it was like starting to shake, like vibrate, you know? And then it like jumped forwards, almost as if you would have like take your foot off the brake, press the gas pedal, and then go back to the brake really fast. That's what my car did. And it also felt like somebody had grabbed my steering wheel right from my hands. It freaked me out. I could feel it. I felt some weird energy, and I was just like, I looked at the cars next to me, like, did they see what just happened? Like, do they think I did that on purpose? Nobody was even paying attention. You know how people are on their phones or whatever, and I'm just like, okay, that was weird. And I'm in that moment is when I'm thinking that Ouija board is in my trunk and it needs to come out. Like, I was freaking out, right? At that moment, I was like, okay, well, she said that I have some sort of spirit that's like latched onto me. And at this point, I'm literally noticing it. So I've got to fix this. I wanted to go tell Stephanie what happened. Like, you know, you want to go tell your best friend what is going on. I get up into the light, go to the next light. I'm pulling up into the parking lot, and it is like crowded. There's so many cars, you know. I'm going down this lane, and I turn to go down like another lane. While I'm turning, like I'm in like one of the main roads. So like not like the spaces where the cars are. It's like the road on the outside, and my car literally just like died. It like shut off, but it was still on. I know that sounds crazy, but I was like, now that I think about it, like how can that even be possible? Everything in my car just like stopped. I couldn't press the gas pedal, I couldn't press the brake, like it was, everything shut down. But my car was still on and running. It was like in some weird idle situation. I have no idea. I've never dealt with something like that with a car. So I was like, what is going on? I had to shut it off, like the ignition, so it was completely off, then turn it back on, and it started up, press, you know, get into gear, go press the gas, go find a parking spot. As soon as I pull into the parking spot, I'm getting ready to text Stephanie because I'm here and I want to find you and tell you what's going on. Like, this is weird. My phone dies. It just, and I was like, what the heck is going on? So at this point, I'm like really, really freaked out, and I just don't know what to do. So I went to the stores I thought she would be in, you know, like Victoria's Secret, whatever. I'm going around to store, and I cannot find her anywhere. And I'm, oh my gosh, I don't know where she would be. So instead of like being there without a phone, worrying about if my car will start again, I don't know, I ran into a store called Earth Magic. I was like, do you guys sell sage? Because I need some sage. Because I do remember that one of my coworkers had told me like a while before that you can always like bless your home with sage. And now that I know that, you know, but back then I was like, what is she talking about? So I went in and I got some sage. It was like $4 or something. Anyways, got in my car. I got home safely. Everything was fine. But when I got home, I did decide I want to kind of cleanse my body and my house and my cats and everything. Like, I don't know what kind of spirit is around me or if there is one, but if there is one, I'm definitely gonna get rid of this thing. I went ahead and got my phone plugged in and looked up the Lord's Prayer. I said the Lord's Prayer like 10 plus times over and over and over. I just kept saying it on my phone. And I lit a white candle and I put it up in the window and I lit the sage. So I had the phone in my hand reading the Lord's Prayer with the sage.
To kick this entity out. You do need to make it known to this spirit that you want him out of your home. If you don't do that, and you don't specifically say that, he has the permission by the law of invitation to stay in your home and hunt.
I went around my whole entire house and, you know, saged everything, including myself, all around me and my cats. Okay? Just to be safe. I don't know what I'm doing at this point, really, but I'm trying. So at the very end, I literally said, in Jesus' name, I command you to leave me alone. Leave my house. Basically yelled this in my home.
They have to actually be verbally, psychically, emotionally kicked out in order for you to actually get it out. And angels will not intervene until you tell the entity and you tell angels you want the attachments cut, you want this entity gone, and you want your space cleansed. Until you do this, this entity will not leave.
And I could feel this energy lift off of my shoulders. Like, I felt like a weight was lifted off of me. Literally. I was like, what the? I felt it off my shoulders, and then I heard, and kind of felt a little bit, but I mainly heard a whoosh. Fly down the hallway, okay? Flew down the hallway, and something from the washer or dryer, like, fell and hit the ground. I get chills talking about it, especially sitting right here, because right here is like basically where I was sitting when that whole moment happened. I get so freaked out by it because this was real. Like this really happened to me 2 years ago. So forgive me for going on a rant, like a little tangent moment here. So I wanted to tell you guys about that story. Oh, I didn't make any notes for the next 2 stories. Gonna try and keep them a bit short and simple because I went on a tangent there. This was also when I worked at Cosmoprof. We'll just go ahead and say 2-3 years ago as well. Cosmoprof, it's not important, but it's a factor in this. And again, I could have had this spirit situation kind of just putting bad energy on me. I don't know. But the spirit is gone now. Like, ever since I did that little, what do you want to call that? Exorcist situation. Everything, well, I wouldn't say everything's good, but for the most part in the spirit world, I'm Gucci. Let me go ahead and tell you this next story. This isn't like a spooky story, but basically I was scammed. Back then, when I was kind of just searching and looking for a partner, I came across Plenty of Fish. I heard there was like Christian singles on there. So I was talking with a guy, and at the time when I was still looking for a man, I'm no longer looking, just no longer gay. Let's not get into it though. Back then, when I was looking, I was messaging people, you know how you just message, hey, what's up, whatever. So this guy was this scam artist, we'll say. He messaged me like, hey, do you want to trade Snapchats? And I was like, sure, whatever. Then at that point, we were talking on Snapchat. And this is all in one day, okay? So at that point, he was messaging me on Snapchat, just talking at first. Then he started sending me like pictures that were inappropriate to say the least, and I wasn't replying or anything like that. But he did have my name from Plenty of Fish, and I don't even know, but basically he found me on Facebook, whoever this was, this person. He found me on Facebook and like downloaded all my information or something like that. I don't know what he did exactly, but he did this on purpose to scam me. So what he did next was he basically sent me these pictures, and then I deleted him because I was like, what the heck? So I deleted him off Snapchat, and I went to Plenty of Fish just to kind of remove him off there as well. And his profile was gone. I was like, okay. Next thing you know, this was probably like 20 minutes later, I got a phone call, which was creepy because I never gave out my phone number to this person. So I got a phone call on my phone, and it was a man that was screaming and yelling, saying that I owed him money. And I said, excuse me? And he said, you're gonna pay my kid's phone bill because I have these pictures of you on here. You're sending him nudes and all this stuff. And I was like, excuse me? I was not doing that. He literally proclaimed that I was doing this and that his son was only 13 years old. And I'm like, what? Basically, he was scamming me. Whoever this person was scamming me. And they downloaded all my information, I want to say off of Facebook. Because I don't know how anybody would have gotten my information. This guy said that he was an ex-Marine, Army troop officer, I don't know. He was going on and on saying this stuff, and that he could just call the police and have me arrested if I don't pay for his phone bill. And I said, I ain't paying for your phone bill. I was like stubborn, you know. I was like, I'm not paying your phone bill, dude. I'm like, that's not my fault or problem that your son is wanting to talk to other people online. Like, I don't know. And I said, he's the one that sent the nudes. I didn't send him anything. And then he said, and I said, this kid's probably mad all because I deleted him. So at this moment, I'm thinking like this kid is mad. So he told his dad that I did that or something like that. I don't know. So next thing you know, I hung up. He tried calling back. I hung up again. And then he texts me, like whoever it was, texts me from, you know, that number. And they said a whole bunch of cuss words to me. And they said, if you don't pay my phone bill, I definitely will be turning you in. And they said my full name. And I was like how do... They said, I can look up any information because of being in the Army or whatever. So then they looked up and said my birthday. They said, I know your birthday. And then they said, I know where you live, and sent me my address, which freaked me out. I was like, I mean, when you're in a real life situation like this, it was so freaky. Because I'm like, how do they have my address? So at this point, I really think this guy is like an Army dude. Like, I don't know. I didn't know I was being scammed. So, I was like, and then he's like, I know where you live. And then he said my dad's name, my mom's name, my brother's name. He said all of like my family's names. And he's like, I know all this stuff about you. And I'm just like freaked out. Azalea, get down. All right. Where was I? So at this point, I'm freaked out. And I'm like, I have to pay for this guy's phone bill now. Like I said, well, how much is it? And he said it was like $900. And I'm like, $900 for a phone bill? I'm like, that does not seem right. Like, what? And I'm thinking, like, this kid uses a lot of internet or something like that. I don't know. I was just like, how can I figure out a way to get out of this situation? Because, like, I did nothing wrong, and now I'm being accused and having to pay for it. Like, I didn't know what to do. At this point, I'm not going to do anything about it. Let's see what happens. The guy said, you need to pay me right now. And I said, I don't have the money. And then he's like, I need the money by tomorrow or something like that. Yeah, right. At that point, I was making way less than what I do now. And don't have that type of money. At that moment, I was still living back with my mom. So this was like a while ago. And I'm just like, this dude really thinks I got money like that? I wish. Anyways, at that point, I just ignored it. And then the next day, I got a phone call on my phone, and it was from the police. It was a random number, but it was supposedly a policeman. I answered the phone, and they said that officer, whoever, and that I was going to be arrested because of what happened. And I'm like, what? And at this point, I'm really confused, and I really think this is real because it's a whole different number that's like local, and supposedly they were going to have a warrant out for my arrest. And I was like, what did I do wrong? And they said something about this boy or whatever, and they said, or you could drop the charges if you just pay, like, drop all the charges if you pay us $5,000. And I was like, what? I have never heard of this. And I'm like, no. They said, well, sit yourself then. We will be on our way to, arrest you. And I'm like, at this point, I was freaking out, like shaking. I thought that the police were going to show up at my doorstep. I was like, this just doesn't sound right. Why would they drop the charges for $5,000, So then I had called the actual police department where I lived at the time. And I said, is there a warrant out for my arrest? And she looked my name up and she said no. And I'm like, okay, I just got a phone call from this number. And it was that number. It was the police station's phone number that had called me. And I said, you guys just called me and said this. And she's, who did you talk to? And I'm like, it was a guy. And she's like, what? Like, she was super confused. And she's like, no. She said, if you have a warrant out for your arrest, we aren't just going to call you. We'll show up at your house and get you. And I'm like, okay. And she said, what it sounds like to me is maybe some type of scam. Because they said something about the $5,000. And I'm like, that's when it clicked. And I was like, this whole thing was a scam. So I was like, I was embarrassed to... You have to call the police station, And at this point, I'm like, are you kidding me? So at this point, I know it's a scam. So I got another phone call from the police station. It was a different phone number at that point, saying that it was a different county's police department that was close to me. And I'm like, I'm not buying this. So I stopped answering the phone calls. The next day when I went into work, this was at Cosmoprof, I remember around like lunchtime, there was a phone call at my work. Ugh, this is just so scary. My manager answered the phone and she's like, David, this phone call's for you. And I'm like, okay. So I answered the phone and I'm like, hello, who is this? And they said it was the police. And they said they were on their way to arrest me if I didn't give them the $5,000. And I was like, is this a joke? Now they're calling my work. I was freaked out though, because now this whoever out there that is scamming me like knows literally everything about me. So it was just so freaky. But I ended up hanging up on them and explained to my manager what was going on because she could overhear them saying what, they were screaming on the phone. But yeah, it just freaked me out, the whole situation. Everything was fine though, they stopped calling eventually. It took about a week, but yeah, I never paid them a dime. And I'm just so glad I got away from that scam. It's just crazy what people are willing to do for money, I'm just glad I didn't fall into that trap, but that was scary. And at that point, I did report the profile as scam and I actually emailed Plenty of Fish, the app. I emailed them explaining everything that had happened, and I was just so upset. I actually deleted the app for a long time. I didn't use it. I actually still don't use that app. I don't recommend it because I looked up on the internet as well. A lot of people have been scammed just like that on that app. So I was like, well, that's crap. I remember in the midst of it, I had asked my friend about how would someone know my information then? She said it's easy. Anybody can Google any information about you if you just give them something simple like your name or something like that. They can Google the rest. And I'm like, what? Just so you guys are aware, so just be careful out there on the internet. There's lots of crazy trolls and scam artists out there that are willing to do anything, bend over backwards to try and get money from you. Be careful. So anyways, the last story I wanted to touch base with you guys, and then I will let you guys go. I know this is a really long video, so let's go ahead and get into it. So this last story, I'm gonna keep this very short. So one time, this was again when I lived back with my mom and my stepdad. I didn't quite have a room there, so I was sleeping on actually this couch that I'm on now, was sitting in their living room, and I was sleeping on it. But I actually wasn't asleep, if you know what I mean. It was 2 a.m, and I was on my phone or something. falling asleep, probably watching YouTube. At that point, around 2 in the morning, I want to say it was around 2 in the morning, I heard a car start and like headlights came on and they just like slowly backed out of the driveway and took off, and I was like, what the heck? So freaky, because I don't remember them ever coming back. And in the morning, I asked my mom and my stepdad if one of them left at 2 in the morning, and they both were like, no, we didn't leave. Nobody left. And my mom's like, I would have heard it. And I'm like, but I heard it. And she's like, nobody left. And I was like, really confused. And also, we had all of our cars. None of the cars were missing. So I was like, okay, did somebody like take the car and come back or something? And she's like, she said maybe, because she actually did, not her herself, but one of the other kids, so my stepbrother, came home one time and actually found somebody lurking around, and he had to tell him to leave. He was like hiding by a truck or something, trying to like look in the truck and see if he can take it and go. What? I feel like I should have known this before coming back to live here, because I had already moved out and everything, and then I had moved back in with my mom, you know? Sometimes situations happen like that. So, and my mom, she's also had like a lot of weird physical, like spirit stories with the touching and stuff. She has a lot of stories, and she did have a couple that were from that particular house. So I'm not sure if that house was haunted or what exactly, but one little creepy thing about that house, and this was like an old house that my mom was renting out. So like they didn't buy it or anything like that. It was an old farmhouse. Nothing was really like up to date, you know what I mean? So, and she didn't go out of her way to put up new walls or something like that. Like, we just kind of lived with what was there. And in the corners of like most of the rooms, up in the ceiling in the corner, they had these little infrared camera situations. And I was like, what is that used for? And she said it's used to like detect temperatures or something like that for ghost activity. And I'm like, what? And then she proceeded to tell me that the old man that lived there actually killed himself there because he was so spooked out that something was out to get him. And I'm like, that does not sound good. Anyways, I'm gonna go ahead and leave it here. If you guys want to hear more of these type of stories, go ahead and comment below. If you want to hear more about my mom's spooky ghost stories, let me know, and I will see what I can do about talking to her. Maybe get her on here to talk with us. That might be fun. Let me know in the comments below. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you haven't already, subscribe to this channel. Leave me a thumbs up and a comment below. I'll get back to you. And as always, have a blessed day. I will see you guys in the next video. Bye, guys.